Our goal with this building is to create a makerspace that is more than just a room with tools, but a woodworking workshop that is automated to make our lives easier and safer, and hopefully one that looks nice as well so that we can be inspired to experiment and create. After years of making stuff in makeshift spaces, whether it was the carpeted living room in my first studio apartment, or the small backyard of our old house where Erin and I used patio furniture and whatever else was lying around to work on projects, we were finally lucky enough to acquire a garage when we bought our move-in ready Los Angeles dream home, with the detached garage of our dreams. Well, not really. It actually took us 4 years of tireless work to bring our house back to life and make it a home. And at the end of last year, we were finally ready to tackle the garage, tearing down the old, crumbling structure and completely reimagining it to create the maker space of our dreams. With the outside complete, it was time to move inside, and we decided to start from the ground up. We planned to build most of our dust collection using surface-mounted pipes once the walls were in place, but we did decide to include a dust port in the center of the room that we could hide underground to service the table saw, router table, and workbench that will sit in the middle of the shop and make up a sort of center island. Burying this one underground meant we could avoid too much clutter overhead and keep things neat and hidden away. This large 4-inch pipe will carry the dust from the center island across the shop to the back wall, where it will meet up with our Oneida dust collector in the closet. We also added a couple of smaller conduits for electrical and network cables to facilitate our smart blast gate plans, which we'll get to later in this video. Since we needed to resurface the concrete floor anyway, cutting out this trench didn't add too much to the budget or timeline. We did end up hiring someone to resurface the floor for us. Getting to step away and come back to a fully finished garage floor in just 2 days without having to lift a finger was a new sensation for us, and I have to admit, not one I hate. I will say though, I do wish we had gone for a more standard concrete finish, which was the plan initially because this type of flaked epoxy floor makes it very hard to find anything that falls off a workbench, including screws and nuts and bolts, all the bits and pieces you drop on the floor regularly when in a workshop. It's also hard to see just how much wood dust is on the floor, which might be a good thing aesthetically, but not when you're trying to keep a clean and tidy shop. But it does look like $1 million compared to what was there before, so I can't complain. With the flooring out of the way, it was time to start working on the guts of the operation, starting with electrical. We have a rough plan right now where all of the tools are going to go, but we want to keep things flexible so that we can still move things around as our needs change. We've tried to include counter height outlets around the shop wherever we could to accommodate workbenches and tools. And on this wall, we're going to have my planer and jointer set up. So we've got outlets run for that and a box set up for the switches, and we'll have a tablet that controls the shop that floats above that. This wall is going to be the miter station. Along this wall, we're setting up vents for different things. The one down here and the one above the door header are for an HRV system we're going to be installing, which will help clean the air in the workshop. And the vent that's going to go here is to help equalize the pressure between the closet and the workshop. So in the closet, we've installed a data panel that will house the equipment responsible for managing networking and automation. This spot is going to be the Oneida dust collector, and somewhere around here is where our HRV will go. Overhead, we've roughed in the wires for our ceiling lights, as well as 2 air filtration units that will hang on either corner of the shop. The air filter we bought recommended placing the unit at a diagonal in one corner. I also have another cheaper scrubber that we'll use in the opposite corner to help promote air circulation, ensuring that the fine dust particles get filtered out when cutting wood and other materials. With the last of our electrical rough-in complete, we moved on to insulating the walls with these Rockwell insulation bats that are designed to also provide soundproofing, which will hopefully keep our neighbors happy by keeping the shop noise inside the shop. And we had the ceiling and gables spray foamed by professionals, which should make controlling the temperature much easier. After that, it was time for drywall, which at this point we've gotten a little bit better at handling. We also created these custom plywood ceilings, and we released a full video on that whole process, so if you're interested, check out our channel for a more in-depth look. Then we painted all the walls, and I added a custom wall mural with our logo to the far back wall. There's also a separate video on our website and channel that goes into more detail on this step if you're interested in seeing how I tackled this mural. The next step was to set up our dust collection. We bought this Oneida Supercell a few years back when I was working in the old version of this garage, and I'm happy to report that despite having a much more demanding setup than before, it's working out great. The Supercell has a small footprint and a higher pressure rating than most other dust collectors, which comes in handy for smaller shops like ours that utilize smaller hoses. Our unit can handle dust port sizes from 1 inch to 4 inches, and suction strength is really strong even with long runs, and being tucked away in the closet keeps the noise down considerably. Once the unit was installed, we moved on to setting up the ducts. We went with 4-inch PVC pipe for our setup because the vacuum pressure is so high in this unit it would have required some thick metal ductwork if we had gone that route. So for us, using PVC was by far the cheaper option, but it does have its drawbacks, the biggest being static. The powerful airflow running through plastic pipes can create a buildup of static electricity that could end up shocking you. So to counter this, we added copper tape to our pipes and tiny sheet metal screws every 2 feet or so to help dissipate the static electricity, alleviating the risk of getting shocked. Every setup is unique, so you'll want to look into what is best for your dust collector. The Supercell, for example, can handle shorter radius turns and even 90-degree T-joints, but many traditional dust collectors cannot, so it's important to research the specific needs of your dust collector when planning out your shop. We also did not glue most of our joints and instead used tape and strapping to the wall to hold the pieces together. This gives us some more flexibility to move things around as our needs change. It's impossible to foresee every need, no matter how much planning you do. With the dust collection pipes run, we moved on to hanging our air filters in either corner of the shop and the HRV in the closet. Since we made the building mostly airtight, it is important to introduce fresh air into the space somehow, and HRV continuously replaces stale indoor air with fresh outdoor air. In conjunction with our 2 air scrubbers and the Oneida unit, we're hoping the shop will stay clean and healthy, even for a woodworker with severe allergies and asthma like myself. And with most of the building out of the way, we could finally peel back the RAM board to reveal our new shop floors. It was exciting to see things finally coming together and feeling like a finished space after so many months of work. And good news, the RAM board did its job in protecting our newly finished floors. With everything shiny and new and flat-ish, we were ready to bring in the tools and transform the space from an empty building to a functioning workshop. One of our big goals with this whole project was to automate our dust collection so that it becomes an operation you don't have to think about much. There are smart blast gates available, but for a shop with a lot of tools, the cost of each unit became prohibitively expensive. So Aaron was able to come up with a DIY solution that cost us only about $50 per gate. It integrates with Home Assistant and can be run from our phones or the shop tablet. But best of all, each tool's blast gate is automated to open when the tool is being used, and automatically close when the tool is not running. Making your own smart blast gates is definitely a bit of an advanced DIY project, but it is doable, and we are considering making a tutorial video that demonstrates our process for anyone who might be interested in replicating it. If that's something you might be interested in checking out, let us know in the comments so we can gauge whether or not it's worth making a more in-depth video on that topic. With the tools in place and dust collection set up, the shop is finally ready to use. I still have a ton of shop furniture to build that should help us get more organized, but for now we have a space to build in that is a huge upgrade from anything we've had in the past. And for that, I'm extremely grateful. Thanks for watching. If you've made it this far and are interested in seeing how this space continues to evolve, and more importantly, what we're able to create using it, please consider subscribing to our channel and signing up for our newsletter so you don't miss out on any future projects.